So now we'll pass the word to Edoardo Russo.
Well, the historical European context. UAPs are not just an American phenomenon, as some may think or believe. It's always been a global phenomenon, with sightings and testimonies from all over the world. Europe has always been in a central position as of sighting reports, even before the American public discovered the flying saucers in the summer of 1947. The first post-war wave of unidentified aerial sightings were the ghost rockets over Scandinavia, but also Italy, Greece, and the Mediterranean countries in 1946. And there are a lot of European witnesses. You may ask, how many? We are talking of opinion polls that asked the question, not so many, asking the question, did you see a UFO? And we have some seemingly different percentages that amount to an average, a weighted average of 6.5% people having seen UFOs. If we remain to the European Union countries, that means as much as 29 million people having seen, thinking they have seen a UAP, a UFO, call it as you like. Not all witnesses are reporting their own sightings. Our estimates are that less than 1% of the witnesses are stepping forth and are reporting their sightings. Since the databases of case histories collected by the civilian UAP organizations are presently comprising about 170,000 reports. Is it much? Is it few? It's higher than the total number of USA reports as collected by our sister organizations in the United States of America. We are talking of Europe in a geographical sense, from Portugal to Ukraine, from Norway to Malta. Unidentified aerial phenomena are not regular in their apparitions. Sighting reports are coming in waves with rich or poor years. The first large wave of sightings was in the spring of 1950, and it was a really European one, hitting several countries, Belgium, Italy, Spain, the UK. An even greater UAP panic took place in the autumn of 1954, with thousands of cases, mostly in France, and so on and so on. We had the national waves in the UK in 1967, in Spain, 68, in Italy, 73, in France, 74. Important waves of UAP sightings took place in most European countries along the last 75 years at last. My own country, Italy, suffered such a strong UAP wave in the late 1978 that fishermen refused to go out fishing. Police patrols were sent photographing strange lights in the sky. Parliamentary questions were asked, and the government charged the Italian Air Force to begin a formal collection of testimonies from the public. You can see here one of the national examples with the peaks and the sightings in certain years and not in others. Even if 90, 95, even 98% of those UAP phenomena are later identified and explained with known natural phenomena or man-made objects, which is precisely the grassroots activity of us UAP investigators, we are left with a small, yet not negligible, residue of anomalous cases totaling thousands of UAPs in the strict sense, unidentified, in a European scale. What are people seeing? The largest part of sightings are either distant lights in the sky, you see more than 75% of reports, or of distant daylight flying objects. But we also have got higher strangeness and higher credibility reports as close encounters when the phenomenon is not more far than 150 meters from the observer. And it is about 10% of, this is just a national sample, my national sample from Italy, It's about 28,000 reports. The special cases I'm referring to maybe sightings from the military, maybe physical effects, temporary physical effects on the surrounding environment. Pilot reports that we've been talking about, that Andre mentioned before. Ground traces, radar detection cases. And just think that we cannot get all radar detection cases, since a large part of them are military case histories, and we are not given unless there is some declassification of data. And more recently, the attention moved to the sea, to the water, and you see we have about 1%, less more than 1% of USOs, underwater objects. You can choose a name for them. And there are social side effects, which have been the object of academic studies by psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists. Even if I can't talk here and now some real panic situations, we are left with a great number of people wondering what they saw, millions of people who have a right to an answer if there is one, but cannot find anybody officially charged to give one to them, and are crushed between those telling them you were drunk and those believing it's just extraterrestrial visitors. It's only the private organizations, the volunteers, that take charge of these people, of their testimonies, trying to find and offer those answers to witnesses. We are unpaid volunteers that are doing this by passion. There are a few hundreds of serious-minded private researchers who try to apply a scientific approach within the European Union. And there are dozens of rational associations of them, one in nearly every European country. Some of them having been active for decades. Just think that the British National Association has been founded in 1964. The Catalonian Spanish organization since 1958, and the Danish one, 1957. What are they doing? They are collecting testimonies. They are doing field investigation, trying to find a solution. They can find an explanation for the very largest part of the testimonies. We are collecting documentation, archiving, and offering support for study and research that is not our business. It's not the private volunteers that have to make scientific study. It's to the scientists. And we are doing an activity of public education, conferences, congresses, interviews. Just think that the largest existing archive about UFOs in the world is in Sweden, the Archives for the Unexplained. The military have traditionally been collecting UFO, UAP reports within their proper mission of controlling and defending each nation's airspace. Most, if not all, European countries have had its own military archives of mostly military reports, just like in the USA. We all know about Project Blue Book, but something similar have been existing all over the world, nearly all over the world, and in nearly all European countries. But what I want to tell and to stress is that as many as 10 European countries have declassified their military UAP archives or opened their UAP files in part or in total, which is amounting now to several thousands of reports available for study. What about the other countries? Well, we have another 10, 12 countries that have done the same. But let's remain to Europe now. As for non-military, yet government organizations, I'm not talking about private volunteers, collecting and analyzing UAP reports can I say that the only one, not just in Europe, but in the world, is in France. In 1977, the National Space Study Center, CNES, the European NASA, if you want, created a study group on unidentified airspace phenomena. They called them phenomena, they called airspace, not just aerial. The Japan now changed the name twice, it's JIPAN. It's not only still active, as André showed, but still offering investigations and precisely that service to the French public only, collecting their testimonies, trying to identify the causes, offering those answers to the public. We will get back to them. What about the politicians? Well, they have been involved since the beginning. Parliamentary questions were asked in most European countries since at least 1950. And the European Parliament got its own share of them too. You may see that there is a collection bias here because I got too many Italian ones, but we are sure that France had quite a collection that has not been collected properly. And around Europe, can I say that Europe is including the United Kingdom? Look at how many. You know, the British Parliament is a special kind of parliament. 110 parliamentary questions since 1950. Not bad. And the Euro Parliament, 9. Even if we take away the 2 ones by Francisco Guerreiro that elevated the total, it's 7 times more. But not just questions. We have a precedent when in the last few months of 1989, Belgium, the country we are now sitting, suffered a heavy wave of sightings, several thousands in, let's say, 1 month and a half, taking the local UAP study group, the SOBEPS, la Société Belge d'études de phénomènes spatiaux, to have a collection in 2 volumes of several hundred pages. Well, it was a European, no, not yet. It was a Belgian member of the European Parliament, I should say for chauvinism, of Italian origin, Elio Di Rupo, later becoming the first minister of Belgium, years later, that asked a question and obtained that the Committee of Energy, Research and Technology of the European Parliament began an investigation. The committee charged an Italian scientist that was a member of the parliament at the time to do that work. And he offered a proposal of resolution, not creating a new office, but giving the French Japan, we told about, a European status. Then the action went another way, the legislature finished, and it remained like that. So the ball is once again here. What are we doing about it? What are you doing about it? We don't know. This is a very short and quick panorama about European history of UAP and UAP studies.